Welcome to Daily Steps from One Extraordinary Marriage, where we outline simple steps that you can take to have the ultimate marriage adventure. I'm Tony DeLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. In today's show, we address the question, what do we do if my husband acts like his father and he says I act like my mother?
Now, I have to say, we've had this statement in our own marriage.
We sure have.
I know we've said it. I know we've thought it about the other person. And truth be told, there's an element to that statement when it comes out in a marriage.
Yeah.
Right? There are behaviors that you're exhibiting that do remind your spouse of either your father or your mother. And it's not surprising since our parents are our very first role models for what it means to be a man or a woman, our very first role models about what marriage and what this marriage dynamic looks like. We're going to internalize a lot of what they do and how they do it, good or bad.
And sometimes it's not even the things you say. It may be the looks you give or the nonverbal cues that are said without words.
Oh, absolutely. And that statement, you're just like your father, you're just like your mother, it tends to set off all kinds of things inside of us because somewhere along the way when we were growing up, we saw our parents do something and we said, I'm never going to be like my mom. I'm never going to be like my dad. And then our spouse makes that statement and we're like, oh no, those are fighting words, right? And it does. It creates an argument. And the fact of the matter is that you've made that vow years and years and years ago. Right. And now you're being confronted with the fact that maybe
I am turning like my father.
Right. Or my mother. And so at that point in time, instead of looking at those as fighting words, which is the default, right? When we're being accused of something that we've said we'd never do, we tend to go into a default. We need to start looking at what's the real issue here. What's really going on? Like for this couple, what's really going on in your marriage? What are the two of you really fighting about? Is it the way that you handle issues of emotional intimacy? Is it the way that you discuss finances? Is it wrapped around, your sex life? Right? Because there's something here that's causing those responses
to come out.
Absolutely. And what that response tells you is that something isn't working in your marriage. Right? When that response comes out and somebody says, you're just like your mother, you're just like your father, that means that your response isn't working for the other person. They're having a negative, they're pushing back against it because they're like, I see that with your parents and maybe it worked for them, maybe it didn't, who knows, but it's not working in this relationship.
Nor do I want it to continue in this relationship.
Case in point, in our own marriage, gosh, we were probably, how many years in do you think before we had the you will not be a power outage on me conversation?
That had to be, 10 years?
That's what I'm guessing. So we're going on 22.
Yeah.
So first 10-ish years of our marriage, when we would get into arguments, loud discussions, disagreements, I don't care what word you all use, but when there was some type of confrontation, I would literally shut down like a power outage. Just like, whoa.
Lights out.
Lights out. Nothing going on. No engagement. No nothing. Well, that was learned behavior. I watched my mom do that growing up. When there was any type of discussion, and it didn't even have to be about something big, it just any type of discussion that felt confrontational to my mom, she would shut down.
I had seen that too in the 10 years that we'd been married and the years prior to dating. I would see that happen, not really knowing what was going on because I didn't understand the dynamics early on, but over time I understood. And as I began to see it happening in our own marriage, put 2 and 2 together, it equals 4. You know what's going down.
And so we had the come to Jesus moment one day on our couch where Tony's like, you've been doing this for the last 10 years, give or take. And we have a lot of years ahead of us and I'm not doing this. Like we're going to have to come up with doing something else. And of course I'm like, well, I'm just not going to say anything because that's how I do this. And he's like, I'm not getting up from the couch until you talk to me. And here's the thing. I'm pretty stubborn by nature. I learned that day just how stubborn my husband is because he wasn't moving. I'm like, crud, I'm going to have to do something. And that's really what that expression, how it played out in our marriage was that it meant that there was a strategy or a skill development that we didn't have. And so we were going to this default that wasn't working. And so instead of using those words as fighting words, use it to say, there's a strategy There's a skill that our marriage doesn't have, and we need to figure out what that is.
Yes, you do. Because if you want to continue to go along that path, you don't find the new skill. If you want to make a change in your marriage, you guys have to come together and say, no more are we going to continue down acting like our mother or our father.
Right, because you've got a sense of how well that worked in your parents' marriage. And if you don't, let me just give you a little insight, right? What you saw of your parents' marriage, maybe you do know the nitty gritty, maybe you don't. If you don't, then let me tell you, there was dysfunctionality there too around some of those behaviors that you're being accused of doing right now. How do I know? Because every marriage has some degree of dysfunctionality. We all do it. We're human beings. We're together, right? And so when you hear those words, I want you to just stop for a second. And instead of going to this place of, I'm just going to react to what you said to me and I'm going to come out and I'm going to, blast you with words, or I'm going to get defensive, or I'm going to withdraw. It's just going to be this negative, ugly situation. Instead, I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to say, what is it that we need right now in our marriage? What skill are we lacking that if we learned it, I wouldn't have to hear that phrase again? Because let me tell you, since that time when Tony sat me down and said, this is not working for me, it's not working for us, and it's not the way we're going to keep doing life together, it's been a journey. It has been.
And let me share briefly, though, that it started there and the skill development started there. That was the line in the sand to say we're not going to do this anymore in our marriage. And from that point on, we had to learn new skills. We sought out counselors. We sought out books. We sought out experts. We did what we had to do and continue to press into each other to learn how does our communication get better when we don't have this shutdown happening. And we found those for us. For us, those are our coffee breaks. Those are our walk-in talks. Those are the times that we get to just spend alone on a date night. It happened over time, though, and us both willing to go, you know what, enough's enough, and I'm willing to change me so that way we can have the marriage that we desire.
Absolutely, and that's what it comes down to, doing what you can do to take the feedback that you get from your spouse to create the extraordinary marriage that you desire.
Do you want your question answered? Send us an email to dailysteps@oneextraordinarymarriage.com and put in the subject line, Daily Steps Question. For more information on this topic, check out oneextraordinarymarriage.com/376.